on this day 5 of Learn Python for AI. So in today's session, we are going to learn a little bit about loops, and this will be a continuation of our previous Learn Python sessions. This will be a very short session. We'll be just keeping it to 15 minutes, and we're going to learn a little bit by exercise, right? So let me share the link to the exercise here on our social channels. The link to the exercise is here on chat. So you can find this on chat. So people who are watching us on our social channels, I request you to join us live on Zoom. The link to the Zoom session is here. You can find it in chat. Great. So let's begin. In today's session, we are going to learn a little bit more about loops. Okay? I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if my screen is visible. Great. Now, if you open the link that I've shared, you'll be able to see this, right? So our mode of learning is learning by exercise. I'm going to copy the exercise that is there here once, the exercise one. I'm going to paste it here. So the people who are joining us for the first time, to make it easy for them, we are going to decode each statement one by one, right? So first, what we are saying here is count is 0. So this is called a variable. In this variable, the value that is there is 0. So now this variable is set to 0. Now, in the second statement, what we are doing is if count is less than equal to 5. So if we see if count is less than or equal to 5, or less than 5, then there is a colon symbol here, which means do whatever is there below when if count is less than 5. So it is like a check. So this is called a condition, and this is an if statement, right? So what we are doing is using an if statement to do some action. So when will the if statement work? When the count is less than 5, right? So because we have given a colon, it will expect something below the if statement, right? So there we are going to take our statement, which is here on line 6. And what we're saying is print, hello, I am an if statement and the count is. So it will print this, and there is a comma. And after the comma, there is the variable count, right? So whatever is initially there in the count will get printed here, right? So if I'm going to run this, you can see that it says, hello, I am an if statement and the count is 0. If the count was, let's say 1, and if I'm running it, it will say, hello, I am an if statement and the count is 1 now, right? So this is how an if statement works. So if you're clear on how an if statement works, type C in the chat box. Yes, you can use the chat feature to type C. Thanks, Rahul. Thanks, Sushant. Thanks, Vijay. So we have a lot of people who are joining us on our social channels. I request you to join us live in the link, the Zoom link that is shared on chat. You can join us live, right? Thanks everyone for letting me know that you understood this. Now, let me continue further, right? But the limitation of if statement is, it is only going to print something if the condition is true, and it is only going to do it once. But as our concepts is loops, and if we want to loop it, if you want to do something multiple times, like you can say, until you have not finished 20 push-ups, keep doing push-ups, right? So there's a condition, and you have to repeat those condition, that particular statement or that particular activity. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this if condition statement, and I'm going to paste the while statement, right? It is similar to if statement in syntax, right? Instead of if, there is a while, and I'm going to say while count is less than 5. The condition is there here, right? And there is this colon. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to say this, print hello, I am a while statement, while, and the count is whatever is there in the count, right? So if you look at this, what we are doing is it will first print whatever is there in the count, and it will check if the count is being updated, right? Because somebody has to keep a count, right? So if I have to do 20 push-ups, you have to keep a count of now 1 push-up done, 2 push-up done. So you have to update the counter. So whenever the push-up is done, you have to update the count that you have. So for that reason, what we do is we do this statement, which is called increment, right? So I'm going to go here and say count plus equal to 1, which is nothing but count equal to count plus 1, right? So now what will happen is, because now the count is 1, it will go and it will print as long as the count is less than 5, as long as this condition is true. Once it is equal to 5, 5 less than 5 will become false and it will stop running, right? So let me run this. Now you can see that you are able to run first hello I'm a while and the count is 1, then it got incremented, then it went on to the loop once again and did the same statement, then again until count was 5, right? You can do the same thing for count less than 10 or 100 also, right? So it's going to do the same thing. So now you did not have to do 100 statements, right? So you just had to do one change in the condition and it automatically looped and printed that particular statement multiple times, right? So if at all you understood the concept of while, type U in the chat box. You can use the chat feature to let us know. Hey Yash, thanks. Hi, you can let us know which city you are from in the chat box. Great, thanks. I hope you have understood the concept of while and how is it different from if statement. If statement, you do it only once. While statement, you can do it multiple times. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for letting me know that you understood this. Now, similarly, we are going to do it for another loop, which is called a for loop, right? So the syntax of for loop is a little different. I'm going to share the syntax of for loop, right? So if you come here in the exercise number 3, you can see that there is this particular exercise, right? So we are going to use this exercise now, right? So it says print square of a number from 1 to 5 using for, right? So I'm going to take the first statement here from here. I'm going to clear this, say numbers equal to, and here is a list. In this list, we have numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 numbers in this list, right? So this for loop is going to use. So numbers is like a variable, like how we had count. Similarly, we are having list. For example, if you want to print numbers, you have to say print and within the brackets say numbers. And when you run this, you'll be able to print that particular list, right? So now what I'm going to do is use this list to proceed in the loop, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm saying for num in numbers. So what earlier we had a count. Now I'm going to say for num. So num is a variable which is going to keep on selecting each number from this particular list, right? So I'd explain it once. So the syntax for for is a little different from while. Here I'm going to say for num in numbers, right? So here you can have anything, right? You can say count also, and will take each of the number. But what will happen is you have to use count in the for loop again, right? So you cannot have for count here and num in the the for statement, right? So now I'm going to say count into count, right? So we are going to square it, right? So I'm going to say count into count. Similarly, here we have done it, right? So now print number. Here I'm going to say print count into count, right? So if you have num here, you have to have num in the print statement also. If you have count, you have to have count on it. So what it does is, whenever first you go in the list, copy first number and save it in count. Then it will print whatever is there in count into count. So 1 into 1. Then automatically without an incrementer, unlike for loop where we had an incrementer, here you did not require an incrementer, and it will automatically go and print the next item in that particular list. Then it will say count is 2 and print count into count. Similarly, it will go from 1 till 5, right? Okay, so let me run this. Now you can see that it printed 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square, and 5 square, right? So whatever, once the list ended, the loop automatically ended, right? So this is the syntax for loop. As we proceed in our sessions, we'll see more about for loop and use of it. It is most prominently used loop syntax, right? So over while for is prominently used. So the syntax of for is for, and here the counter or the value in that particular list is there, and you have to specify the range here. So here we have specified by giving the variable which has list, which is a list, right? So and it continued counting, right? So now instead of numbers, now let's say you do not want to use a list and you want to use any specific range, right? So there is also one particular inbuilt function called range. Instead of using a loop, what you can do is you can just say range from 1 till 6, right? So if I'm going to say 1 till 6, what it will do is it will automatically go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and print 1 to 5, right? All the squares of that particular number. So let me run this. You can see that it printed again what first count was 1, then in the same range 2, 3, 4, 5, and every time it squared the number and gave us an output, right? So you can even say 10 to 20, right? So it will, let's say 10 to 21, it will start from 10 and it will go till 20. The last number is not included in the range. The one number before that particular number here is included. So if I'm going to run this, you can see that it started from 10 square, then 11 and went till 20 square, right? So if you have understood the syntax of for and the inbuilt function range, type U in the chat box. Thanks, Sharmila. Thanks, Vijay. Thanks, Lakshmikant. Great. So this is how loops are used. And in our next session, we are going to learn a little bit more about functions and dictionaries. So I request you to go ahead and do the practice on your own. The link is shared on chat. And if there's any question, you can put it in the comment section so that we will get back based upon your query. Great. So if you're watching it first time and if you're new to coding, you can pick the top learning that you have learned from this and paste it in the comment section. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. See you tomorrow.